Would it be best for Denmark to abandon the universal model? That's what we believe. The welfare state has become a virus in the country. It's a model based on equality among all citizens, no matter the effort of the individual citizens. This means that no matter your contributions to the common society, you receive the exact same amount of money as anyone else. This is a welfare state that is outdated. The richest pays higher taxes to those who don't contribute to have a job, and why should they get a job? With the welfare system we have today, with all the beneficial support the state offers them, they simply don't have to work. It pays just as much to sit on the couch rather than having a low-paying job. We have to lower the cash benefits so that you gain more by working instead of just sitting on the couch and receiving beneficial support. The Danish welfare system is a welfare system based on the universal model. The poorest get opportunities and beneficial support for free. But how is this equal?
Point of information.
Yes, please.
It's not only the poor one who gets the benefits. The wealthy, and no matter how wealthy a person is, they get the same kind of government support as anyone else. That is equality, isn't it?
But it's not equality when the richest pays higher taxes so that the poor one can just sit on the couch and not having a job. That is not equality at all. We believe the effort of the individual citizens should be rewarded in order to create a liberal society. Young people are the next generations. Those who work hard with an education deserve more support than those who don't contribute to financial balance of the state budget. By lowering the cash benefits, the receivers of beneficial supports gets greater reason for wanting to work. It's not profitable anymore to be at home and not work. They will become motivated and ambitious citizens who want to work and profit more than than they would have by being unemployed. Freedom for anyone is needed. The effort the individual citizens contribute with should be rewarded. It's embarrassing to be such a developed country with such an outdated welfare state. Thank you.
The Danish welfare system was implemented in 1933. It was a universal model that it was based upon, and it has since then become an idea of part of the Danish identity. We here in Denmark attract people from all around the world because of the opportunities that our welfare grants. If you take that away, Denmark will lose its attractiveness for the world as well as its progressive state on a global scale. By having the highest taxes in the world, we're able to construct health benefits for everyone, the poor, the middle class and the rich. And not only that, but our welfare system also causes everyone to be in the middle.
Point of information.
No, thank you. Causing incredible equality. And why would you try to change something so ideal for society? This isn't the perfect idea of a society for everyone to be equal, everyone to have the same benefits, and yes, everyone being equal. I know the Danish man would agree. Look at the US. Look at how they struggle with their welfare. Look at how they struggle with the huge gap between the rich and the poor. This also results in way more crime.
Point of information.
Go ahead.
Do you have any statistics or surveys showing this?
I do. It was shown that even though the US only represents 4.4% of the world population, they do represent 25% of all incarcerated people in the world. Yes. Anyway, due to how low support the poor will receive, they will therefore have to go to the extreme measures to take care of their own, to take care of the family and the people that they love. And isn't that very normal? There's a reason why we have no crime here in Denmark, and that is because of our welfare system. As said, we have it very, very good here in Denmark. We can go to the hospital and get free healthcare if you get hurt. When the US, they have to they'd be charged hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars for a knee bruise. So yes, isn't it quite worth it to be a Danishman? Sure, when it's that time of month and you look at the numbers, you can feel anxious and maybe even feel saddened just because the numbers are so high here in Denmark. but you've got to remember the freedom, you've got to remember the safety, and you really got to remember the happiness that will bring us each and every day. Thank you.
Anton, you mentioned the age of our welfare system, 1933. This sure means that it has become a part of the Danish identity. But that is not without disadvantages. Throughout the years, the salaries in Denmark have increased, while the Danes have been working less and less. This is derived from several statistics. Statistics also show a huge increase of the receivers of cash benefits. There's actually been an increase of 70,000 people receiving cash benefits from 2008 till 2015. This obviously has a close connection. The old Danish welfare state has affected the mindset of the Danes. If you receive unnecessary benefits, you take the system, the safety net, and your fellow citizens' effort in the society for granted. So tell me, how does this motivate the Danes to continue working more and earn money? I mean, look at the history. 2007, where the country was hit hard by the financial crisis, which had resulted in heavy national debt. The economy needed to be stimulated, thus a change in the welfare state was needed, and thus the redistribution in the public sector needed changes. The government shaped up the welfare state by stepping away from a policy of the government carrying all of the responsibility. This was a clear movement towards a more competitive state, and by that the government secured a greater future for the Danish economy and society. And more like this must be done.
Point of information.
Yes?
Why would it make us a more competitive state?
You see, by stepping away from a policy of the government carrying all of the responsibility of a safety net for the people, you are creating independent citizens because they learn how to take responsibility for themselves, which makes it a more competitive state. Let me continue. Besides, we have to face the reality. We've got a demographic problem. The amount of old people in Denmark is increasing, thus the receivers of support from the government and cash benefits is increasing. And with the constant increase of old people, we by time won't have enough young people to maintain the wealthy society that we have at the moment. So a pension requirement of age must be increased. We have got to face the reality. And by reducing the cooperative taxes and making people receive benefits based on their own contributions, you'll also enlarge the individual citizens' income, which will create ambitious, motivated, and independent citizens as well. And by making the citizens receive entitlements based on their own contributions again, we'll also have to think about who needs the money the most, which will also lead to more voluntary work among the Danes. And this will also encourage and persuade bigger companies to move their production to Denmark. Thus, this will also obviously create jobs. The Danes, not only the hardworking ones, need to learn how to be responsible for themselves and their own destiny. Please educate the Danish citizens. We've got to create ambitious citizens by changing the Danish welfare state into a more competitive state, inspired by liberal thoughts of the residual and corporatist welfare modes. Thank you.
The universal welfare state has, as mentioned, been a part of the Danish culture for many years, and it still works remarkably well. The universal state protects the poor by allowing cash benefits and allowing people to be able to recover properly after different circumstances. Instead of coming back to work immediately, you can take a leave. During this, you will get paid at full salary, but this allows you to do time to recover, and during this and you mentioned something about salaries going up. This of course makes sense, since goods and products has become even more expensive along the lines of time.
Point of information.
Denied. We may, according to you, have this demographical problem, the old people, but straying from the universal model will not solve that. You claim that it is outdated, but why should we get rid of something that clearly works? Denmark is an incredibly well-functioning country and very rich one of that. And Denmark has won the title of the happiest country more than one time, which must show that we're doing something right. The universal model works for Denmark, obviously. Just to comment on Camilla's point about the huge increase of receivers of cash benefits, the figure is also covering the increase of social assistance to foreigners falling under the immigration law of 5,500 per people compared to the same month last year. This is an increase of 82.2%. Total receivers around 11,900, wherein is falling under the integration law is now on cash assistance. This increase is the result of a huge influx of refugees coming to the country. So it could perhaps be more a question. So it could be perhaps more of a question of the way our country integrates people than the way we run our welfare system. Instead of just cutting people off the cash benefits and leaving them to fend for themselves, as Camilla proposes, we should develop our integration system so we in the future will have more people out in the labor market and thereby have more people to support the elders. The universal welfare model is based on a number of fundamental rights for all citizens. The state has a central role in ensuring welfare for all. While the residual model is much more specific about who can get financial aid. While the residual model is much more specific about who can get financial aid. In countries where the model allocation of help is contingent on an actual need test. They're very specific about who can get this financial aid, and these receivers are the poorest of the poor. There are many people in need of help and unable to receive it because they don't fit the criteria. It is a flawed system if people that need help can't get help.
I would like off to start by commenting on something that you mentioned, Anton. You said that if we abandon the universal model as our main influence on our welfare state today, we lose attractiveness on a global scale. We shouldn't care what we look like on a global scale or how attractive we look like. No, we should do what is best for the people of this country. We should do what is best for the economy of this country. By moving away from the universal model and moving towards a more market-controlled state, as we see in the residual model, we can ensure the future of Denmark. And as Camilla mentioned before, it is needed that we look longer into the future rather than just ahead to the next election of our government. From the figure which Camilla showed, this figure, it is obvious that we aren't enough working people to supply for the growing elderly population.
A point of information.
Yes.
Yeah, as Sarah just mentioned, by developing our integration system, more migrants will get a better opportunity for permanent employment, and thereby more people to provide the elderly. Isn't that like a fair and better solution instead of cutting people off the cash benefits?
We aren't just cutting people off their cash benefits, we are cutting in the cash benefits so they get out on the market contributing to the society today. Of course, we want to get more migrants into the country so they can pay taxes, we can get more flow in our economy today. But as I mentioned before, more and more are looking upon cash benefits as a way to live without lifting a finger and contributing to the society. We have to face the reality. We need to change that attitude immediately. Lower the cash benefits and thereby getting more people into work. In order to have a livable society, it's needed to have a welfare state that secures a fiscal balance on the state budget. Yes, and an ambitious mindset of the citizens. The universal model does not support that, which is why it needs to be abandoned. And as Camilla mentioned before, we can get bigger companies into the state, into our country, if we lower the taxes as well. These bigger companies will also ensure jobs, which will again get more flow in our economy. And by lowering the taxes, some might say that we have to cut down on some benefits, but we don't. If we get more people into work, they will pay taxes as the same amount that were before. That's why we need to abandon the universal model and go have the reciprocal model.
What is Denmark, and what kind of country do we want it to be? Do we want it to be a selfish country with little regard for the man next door? Or do we want it to be a country built on trust, collective responsibility, solidarity, and social cohesion? Denmark is the 7th richest country in the entire world. Are we so rich because we do not share with anyone else? We overcame the financial crisis. And even though there were changes in our system, we are still a country based on the universal model. Denmark is a well-run country. We are enjoying a high standard of living, and we had a lot of faith in each other. But what is the reasons for this?
Point of information.
No, thank you. It is, of course, because of the universal model. This model is what strengthens Denmark as a country. In Denmark, no one is left out. Everyone has a roof over their head and food on the table. In Denmark, we have less people below the poverty line than countries with the residual models as the foundation of their state.
Point of information.
Yes?
Do you have any proof of this?
Yes, in fact I have. If we take, for example, USA, who is a country based on the residual model, their poverty rate is 15% of the population, while here in Denmark, where we have the universal model, it's 0.7% of the population who is below the poverty rate. But if that wasn't enough, in Denmark we do also have a greater participation in the state. We have fewer workers migrating to other countries, better performance in education, lower death tolls for diseases, and much lower crime rates compared to countries like USA. Because the Danish model is universal. This means everyone gets some kind of welfare benefits. Therefore, there is no need to commit crimes to survive. And no matter how wealthy a person is, they can expect the same level of government support as anyone else. This way, the wealthy are far more supportive of the system, whereas in other welfare models, the wealthy complain about paying for everyone else without receiving nothing in return. The main advantages of the universal model is the effectiveness of social administration, the unconditional security for people with low income, the promotion of social integration, which will give us more workers in the longer run, for instance, to support the elderly, and the compatibility with economic effectiveness. There is no doubt the universal model is truly for the people. Thank you.